Hi, brothers and sisters. I just wanted to refer you guys to a video by Wayne Cook put out today. Romans. It's a satire on someone who is in a universal church. Now, remember I talked about the ecumenical movement and the universal idea, and this is what many of these churches that are part of the Pope's unifying all religions and all churches into one. This is what they're doing. And in the Word of God, in the Epistle of Jude, God says that that there are men ordained to this condemnation. So there are people who are ordained to condemnation, according to the Epistle of Jude. And in the book of Revelation, he clearly says there's the kings of the earth, the merchantmen, and the mighty men who have great tribulation coming. And they are in the universal church. Those men are Jesuits, Masons, Shriners, fraternities and sororities, Calvinists. And they are part of this ecumenical movement, just like the Jesus culture movement. They are saying things that are just not true, but they sound really wise and sometimes and philosophical. But the philosophy of men, Jesus warned us about. Jesus talked about hell and how hell enlarges herself. Jesus talked about how he would divide the sheep from the goats. The book of Revelation talks about the mother of all harlots. And that's Jesus's prophecy, Jesus's revelation. And he said, I come to divide, not unite. So there is a false gospel that's being preached out there, and people who really don't genuinely love Jesus, they are just wanting to be spiritual. And it's about the spiritual movement. It's similar to Hinduism, because they mix Hinduism and Buddhism and all the isms, Calvinism, into the mix. And we have to be very careful of that, because, not very careful, if you're a born-again believer because God drew you to him, to Jesus, to be saved and hear the gospel, because faith comes by hearing and hearing the word of God, then you have no worries. Some people may be caught up in these false churches, but God is gonna open your eyes or bring someone to talk to you to hopefully pull you out of those places, because they really are leading people down a path that's not good, and fornicating with other spirits. Unclean spirits are fornicating in those places. So the ecumenical movement is about joining all religions into one. It's the coexist idea. And the people who lead that, they expect to see people changed. They expect you to keep the law. They say they are all about grace, but then they're all about you don't look good or you're acting wrong, so you're not part of us. When the Word of God says you need to test the spirits by do they confess Jesus came in the flesh. That's how you test the spirits. And to be honest, I want to share something that happened. I was out giving my flyers with the gospel on it that saves. And this group that I came upon, this one guy who is clearly from that movement, and he claimed to know Jesus. At the same time, he could not, with his mouth, say Jesus came in the flesh 2,000 years ago. He couldn't say it. His mouth couldn't do it. And he kept like skirting the question when I asked him. And it's not that I was testing to see if he was a true Christian. I was testing the spirit I was talking with, because, you know, even Jesus said, Satan, get behind me, for your defense to me, for you come from man's perspective and not God's. And so, because we don't battle against flesh and blood, we battle against principalities and powers of the air, the rulers in high places. And so these rulers work for the dragon, and the dragon is trying to bring all religions into one and rejecting the Son of God. They say they believe in Jesus, but they have another Jesus, a counterfeit, So be careful, because it's very seductive, and it sounds right, because we all believe, who are true born-again Christians, we all believe that, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, so that whosoever believeth on him shall not perish but have everlasting life. We believe that Jesus did say that God would draw all men to him, but not all men will believe. That's the key. Not all people are drawn by God and given that, introduced to Jesus. So with that, I don't want to be real, test everybody and all that. It's whenever you're getting a conversation and someone is saying something that doesn't match up to scriptures,